So the pound-for-pound king, Terence Crawford, gave his reaction to Canelo Alvarez signing a 4-fight deal with Turkey that includes his fight. Crawford said, quote, "I'm waiting on Canelo in September, and I'm going to shock the world in Riyadh season." End of the quote. This is huge for Crawford. Talk about daring to be great. If he pulls this off, beating Canelo Alvarez under these circumstances, of all of these disadvantages he's under, of pretty much moving up 3 weight classes to his 6th weight class to fight Canelo Alvarez, who was the undisputed champion at 168, then without a doubt, Crawford will stamp his name as one of the greatest 5 fighters of all time. Even when he's long gone, his name will be mentioned next to Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard, Sugar Ray Robinson, Floyd Mayweather, and Roy Jones. That's how great Crawford will be. He will make up for all of the lost time and the hardships he dealt with in his career, being the boogeyman in the sport as the pound-for-pound king. No one wanted to fight him for years. For an entire decade, Crawford was pound-for-pound number 1, and no one wanted to fight him. They tried to freeze him out, and I'm not talking about PBC. Remember, Bob Arum was on record saying he killed the Manny Pacquiao fight. Well, guess what? Crawford moves up and beats Canelo. He's going to make up for all of that. He's going to make up for all of the fights he wanted but couldn't get because they was avoiding him. From Manny Pacquiao to Lomachenko to Danny Garcia to Keith Thurman, and the list goes on and on and on. On the other hand, Canelo Alvarez has been receiving a whole lot of backlash, more than he has ever been before, for avoiding the Mexican monster David Benavidez for over 5 years. Benavidez was his mandatory, and Canelo still hasn't fought him till this day. And it's not just Benavidez. For over a decade since Canelo been at 154, he avoided the mentally right Jamal Charlo, Demetrius Andrade for undisputed. So this is nothing new. Now, the best thing Canelo could have had done if he's not going to fight Benavidez was obviously fight Bivol rematch or Beterbiev for undisputed. But since he didn't want to do none of that, fighting Crawford is obviously the best choice because this gives him the biggest fight of the year. Crawford is pound for pound number 1. And we all know if Crawford was in his division, if you think Canelo asking for $200 million to fight Benavidez was a lot, was overpricing himself, then if Crawford was at 168, the same division as Canelo, Canelo would have had requested $1 billion to fight Crawford. Translation, he would have had never fought him. In fact, even if Crawford was 1 division below Canelo, still, Canelo would have had never fought Crawford. The only reason Canelo is fighting Crawford is because he's moving up pretty much 3 weight classes, and this is his 6th division. This is something that has never been done. No one has put himself under these type of disadvantages the way Crawford just did. And because of that, ladies and gentlemen, the fight is 50-50. The odds are 50-50. If Crawford and Canelo were actually in the same weight class, the odds would have been 100% Crawford and -0% Canelo. That's what makes this intriguing, is can Crawford break his limit? This is some Goku shit. We already seen Crawford go Super Saiyan, but the question is, can he go Ultra Instinct? Since that's what it's gonna take for him to beat Canelo. He can't be catching and shooting Canelo punches. He's gonna have to make Canelo miss completely and counter him, because Canelo is gonna be much, much, much bigger than him. He really gonna be like Jaron on fight night. That being said, the Crawford fight doesn't just give Canelo his biggest payday, it also gives Canelo Alvarez the biggest moment of the year. This is the fight of pretty much the generation for Canelo Alvarez. He hasn't had a fight this huge, this big, since he fought Floyd Mayweather, which by agreeing to fight Crawford instead of Jake Paul, he at least calmed down the backlash he was receiving for ducking all the other fighters he was supposed to fight. Now he can focus on someone he has all the advantages over. I mean, what could go wrong? Canelo is looking at Crawford like a little man. How can he move up and do anything? Yeah, Crawford is knocking out everyone at 147, but this man too little to move up 3 weight classes to fight me and knock me out. That's how Canelo is looking at it. Worst case scenario is Canelo gets outboxed in a close fight, which makes this a win-win situation for Canelo Alvarez, since he knows from the bottom of his heart he could never be anyone as remotely close as Crawford. But with all these disadvantages Crawford has on his side, from being the older fighter, he's 38 years old, moving up to his 6th weight class, doing it pretty much 3 weight classes one time. I mean, if we being real, if Floyd Mayweather fought Canelo under these circumstances, Canelo would have had the better chance at winning rounds against Floyd as well. Possibly beat him. But we're going to see for sure once he fights Crawford. You see, we all know Crawford and Canelo could never be in the same sentence when it comes to greatness. We all know if Crawford was in Canelo's shoes, he would have had Ben fought Jamal Charlo before he was mentally ill, Andrade for Undisputed, Benavidez, Morrell, and he would have moved up to fight Bivol and Beterbiev. What Crawford is doing right now is equivalence of Canelo moving up from 168 all the way to heavyweight to fight Usyk. That's what Crawford is attempting to do, which is making this fight a 50-50 fight. If Inoue moves up to fight Gervonta at 135, no one is going to say that's a 50-50 fight. If Gervonta moves up to 147 to fight Crawford, no one is going to say that's a 50-50 fight. But Crawford moving up all the way to 168 to fight Canelo, this is still a 50-50 fight because of how great Crawford is. Last but not least, I hear people complaining about Turkey not delivering the Benavidez fight against Canelo or the winner of Bivol versus Beterbiev. Well, listen, you guys must not know Canelo. You guys better be happy he's not fighting Jake Paul, and instead he at least gave us the Crawford fight. You got to take what you can get from Canelo Alvarez. The bar is set so low when it comes to Canelo, even a midget can reach it. Thanks to how biased old media is. On the other hand, when it comes to Crawford, old media is so racially biased to the point they have been moving the goalposts every single time for a decade. All the real boxing fans know, all the real ones know, Crawford has been the pound-for-pound king ever since Floyd Mayweather and Andre Ward retired. Floyd Mayweather passed the torch to Crawford when he came on the scene in 2013. In 2014, he exploded. And then when Floyd Mayweather retired in 2015, Crawford took boxing by storm, while old media tried their best to bury his accomplishments, disrespectfully putting fighters that don't belong over him. Remember when they said Roman Gonzalez was pound for pound number 1 over Crawford? Remember when they said Golovkin was pound for pound number 1 over Crawford? Well, they lost and they put Lomachenko over Crawford with only 8 fights and 1 loss. Then when Lomachenko lost, they put Canelo. And then when Canelo lost to Bivol, they put Inoue and Usyk. Ironically, Inoue, Usyk, Beterbiev, Bivol, and all the pound-for-pound fighters came out and said, Crawford is pound-for-pound number 1. He's the king of boxing. He's better than me, pretty much. And old media is so racially biased to the point they still pushing their old media narrative, which is the deception from the truth that another fighter from the coincidental list became the pound-for-pound king. No difference than Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard, Sugar Ray Robinson, Floyd Mayweather, Roy Jones, and then Crawford. They try to act like Crawford is not him. Well, guess what? Crawford beating Canelo will put a microscope on Crawford's career to why he has always been the pound-for-pound king ever since Floyd Mayweather retired. Hate it or love it. With the opinions out of the door and the facts laid out on the table, go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comment section below. subscribe below. And to be continued on the next episode of Akhi, Akhi TV. Peace. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.